Hey guys, welcome back, Vern Danke. So here we are cruising the Island of Koh Samui. Now, one thing that I've thought about as I was cruising is I have seen some of the nicest resorts that your money and your mind could even fathom. And I started thinking about that. The very best of the best is here on Koh Samui. The best that your money can buy, the most beautiful scenery that your mind could imagine. It's all here. This is it.
Hey, Vern.
I made it my way to one of the few vantage points that you can actually get to apart from being in a resort. I'll show you what I see. There's a beautiful bay here. I'm just a little bit northeast of the northern part. And it looks like somebody was going to build something here at one point. So one thing I did notice is when you're in these locations with the rocks where people have been, there are snakes, and I have seen some. So be really careful and make a lot of noise. A lot of noise. And there are some stray dogs. There's two that I noticed down here. All right, well, this is interesting, huh? Look at this big flat spot. You can hear them doing some building in the distance. So the snakes will come up during the day to lay in the heat of the rocks. So today I was reminded of a story and an experience that I had being on an island. And the island was the island of Maui. And I remember taking the road to Hana. And it was the road with like the most curves possible. It had like 365 curves. And I was a dummy. I sat in the back of the bus, and every time we hit a bump, it was like that for the whole entire ride. It wasn't the greatest experience, but the journey to go there and be there was really cool. Now, one thing that I didn't know was that Charles Lindberg had lived out his latter days on Maui in the Hana area. Now, Charles Lindberg had an interesting life because not only was he an amazing aviation pilot, but he also had some stories that came with his life, and they weren't always all positive. And one thing that happened to Charles Lindberg was, I believe it was like 1932, he had his 9-month-old son kidnapped. And something went wrong, it got botched, and they found the kid dead alongside of one of these roads. And it was like after that, Charles Lindbergh just sank into somewhat obscurity. He just wanted to be off the grid and be left alone. And I think this happened in New Jersey. And it was at that time that he pulled out, I think, and went to Hawaii. I don't know the dates, but that was what he did. My goal was to try to get up top here and get a view of this whole entire area. I guess we could walk down this a little bit, see what's down here. Come this far. I had the privilege of taking the road to Hana and then finding Charles Lindbergh's grave. Kind of a surprise. And to see that people would go there and they'd leave either their aviation wings or a little airplane on his grave to kind of thank him since he helped pioneer aviation. And it dawned on me that the area was so remote. I thought, why would a guy live in an area where there's just nothing? And I read that he didn't have electricity. He ran off of generators. And he didn't have a television in his place either. He didn't want to even be connected to that. And I thought about it. I bet that had a lot to do with his son. It probably just devastated him. And it probably was never the same after that. So it's kind of interesting when you're at the top, you know, the things that connect to you and the things that can go wrong. Now, I'm not sure who owns the rights to the high tide area. If it's the landowner or if it's actually the government that owns the land up to the high tide line on the properties. That's something to kind of figure out if you're wandering in the backwood areas to know what rights you have to poke around anyway. What does that say, you guys? What is that for? Was that like a monument marker? What was that all about? I seen his pet cemetery where his pets were buried. And he just lived like a really simple life in his last days. These places that I've seen are places that are magazine worthy. Places that you would want to come and spend your hard-earned money to escape and to feel like you really went somewhere special. Now, one thing that has occurred to me is oftentimes these very beautiful, trendy places are kind of lonely. They're not really a place to connect to people more than they are a place to escape. One of the dogs that I've seen kind of hanging out. Nice dog. Seems to be a nice dog. I don't have a lot of luck with dogs. Usually are aggressive, but it seems like a nice dog.
Hey, Vern.